Oh my God. We are back. The final episode of the year. The camera's close. My face is red. And I still have no job. But the Premier League season is over. And wowie wow. It was a little. It couldn't match up to the week that had just been. For those who don't know, City saw it out, winning their last 14 games of the year to beat Liverpool by 1 point, un point, on 98. Liverpool finished with 97. They beat Wolves. So in the final game, um, Liverpool were home to Wolves, and City were away to Brighton. And there was about a minute and a half where I think Liverpool people thought they were going to win. The sexy balding accountant that is Glenn Murray scored a goal on a header in the corner. It looked nervy. Liverpool had already been up at that point. Liverpool fans are going nuts. I was despondent at the old Bluefoot, and we pulled it out. See, Aguero scored a goal between the goalkeeper's legs. That made it 1-1. A little bit of safety, a little bit of nerves. But once it was tied, it kind of felt like there's just no way that City were going to lose. They scored a second goal on a header from Emery Laporte from a corner, which is ironic and important because he's been one of our more indispensable players despite the fact that he lost the Tottenham game. And so he scored another from God, I can't remember who the hell scored now. Gundogan. Oh, Riyad Mahrez, who I was cursing his name the whole time. Riyad Mahrez scored a third. Who was the second? Oh, I don't know. Anyway, City won. Liverpool won on a cross to Sadio Mane from Trent Alexander-Arnold. And it ended sort of in a whimper. And City raised the Champions League. And if I went through the live feeling, the first half was really hard. But by the time it was like into the second half, 70 minutes, I was relaxed. So for Brian, who was waiting for me to cry, the tears were gone. I had no more tears. And I think sort of like last season, it kind of goes out with a whimper. And, the season ends and you're kind of drained and the season's over. So that's it for the Premier League. Adios. Gone. But, we still have un más game. One more for City to win. They play Watford in the FA Cup on Saturday, early. So at 12 noon kickoff, that means 9 a.m. East Coast and 6 a.m. West Coast. City are favored against Watford. The big pitch at Wembley, rested, should be no problem. City will win a domestic treble. Treble being 3 trophies, domestic being we won all the trophies available to us in our country. The League Cup, the League, and the FA Cup. I think for City's owners, maybe not for fans, winning the league is number 1, Champions League is number 2, FA Cup is number 3, League Cup is number 4 in terms of priority. And I think we would, not this one, but I think after winning 2 in a row, I think City would be happy to win the Champions League. But where are we? Here are some things going on. Liverpool and Tottenham will be playing in the Champions League final on June 1st in Spain, so that's all England. And then Chelsea and Arsenal play in Baku, Azerbaijan, wherever the hell that is. And that sort of is that. But I think there's some interesting things to think about, and they are these. Those. Squoze. What is Manchester City's place in history in terms of this team? Is it one of the best teams ever? City scored 198 points in 2 seasons. That's far and away the most points any team has ever scored in 2 seasons. Where do they rank? How can they become immortal? Do they have to win 3 in a row like the Manchester United teams did, winning 3 in a row, is probably the peak that you can with a one individual group of players. And then a coach kind of gets burnt out, so we'll see. City, there doesn't appear to be Guardiola leaving, but there's that. There's players that leave. Vincent Kompany might be leaving. David Silva's getting old, so he'll start to slow down. Fernandinho's slowing down, so there's players to leave. So where does City rank, in your opinion, if you're a long-term Premier League watcher? Are they the best team you've ever seen? I think they are. I think United have so many trophies. There's so many iterations of their team. Is it the Ronaldo team in 2008, or is it the Beckham 99, 98, 2000 team, the early version of the team? So we'll see what history takes for City. I want to give a shout out to Liverpool and their fans. Great season by them. Sorry, you got 97 points, but we beat you. City's points and scores are more sustainable and more real. That's now 2 seasons in a row, more consistent. And I think Liverpool will be hard-pressed to score 97 points again. That was a fluke season. They really got lucky. They had at least 3 games that they should have lost or drawn. Yeah, the Sturridge game against Chelsea, the Newcastle game. Well, the Newcastle game is pretty good. The Everton game, for sure. And then just a handful of other ones. So pump the brakes on Liverpool being a dynasty. But they are on the come, and they're coming. And I'm sure Klopp will have them ready to get more players. So good for them. Again, I feel like just like in 2013-14, the last time we had a season go down to the end of the wire with Liverpool and City neck and neck and a game in hand and one team behind. Again, City is getting overshadowed by the power of the Liverpool narrative. Media desperately wants the Liverpool story. It drives clicks. Manchester United are clearly the biggest team in England and maybe the world with Real and Barca. But Liverpool are right there. They have so many fans around the world. They have so many fans in the States. They're always right there. They have a nice underdog story. They're the team that does it right. If you're a neutral, they play fun. You got Jurgen Klopp with so much positive personality versus Guardiola is like a nervous personality. So I get it. I get why Liverpool gets all the plaudits, but hear me and hear me now. They're not a fucking underdog, okay? Liverpool are probably the 4th largest supported club in the world, and what's happening to them is their ownership is finally getting its head out of its ass. Essentially, through the early years of the Premier League, they had shitty ownership who fucked up, and now they have a good ownership, the same group that bought the Red Sox and brought them into prominence and doing the right thing. So Liverpool is actually where it should have been all this time versus in a new place that they're going. They were right there with United. They were the ones who should have spent all this time being neck and neck with United and having money and all these sponsorship deals. They're just catching up. So it's really since the FSG group, that Fenway Sports Group, FSG group took over Liverpool, that they're really coming into their own where they should have been. So I think we're seeing a little bit of a changing of the guard in Premier League football. The first really big one was the launching of the Premier League in 1992 for TV money and such. You had an early team. If you look at the early leagues, there's a little history. You had Blackburn, which is owned by a guy called Walker, who owned the Chips, and he spent a lot of money to make his team win. So there's a weird champion in Blackburn, a team that no one's heard of since or again. And then it's United wins. And then you have the Wenger comes in 96. So the very early United teams win in the early 90s with Cantona and Pallister and Pallister and the early teams. Then you've got and Hughes. And then you've got the next team is the coming up of the Beckham, Scholes, Gary Neville, Phil Neville, Nicky Butt class of 92 team. And that comes up. And that team battles with Arsenal and Arsene Wenger. And that goes into about 2002, 2003. And at that time, Liverpool is just scrounging, trying to get in. They're winning cups, but they don't have the infrastructure built in. They don't have that manager that grabs them by the chain and pushes them along the way both Alex Ferguson and Wenger did, who were basically one-man modern management teams. And that's why those two guys stayed for so long. So they were handling all of the structure personally. They were the GM, they were the director of football, and they were the coach all in one title. So they had complete control over their team, and they were able to do that because they were winning. Liverpool doesn't have that, and they're not modernizing it. So they sort of spend the 2000s falling apart. And then you have the first seismic shift, which is Abramovich buying Chelsea. He spends $1 billion. Chelsea, under Mourinho, win 2 titles, set records, and this is when the first sets of real money come flying into the game. So now you go from Arsenal and Manchester United are now joined by Chelsea. Liverpool are still floating around. And those you have your big 3, your big 4. Liverpool's there nominally as the big 4. They, in fact, win the Champions League in 2005 and make it to the final in 2006 under Rafa Benitez. But then they get bought by the Gillettes, by a Texas group, and they have problems. They're running out of money. They buy players. They have to sell. So they have to almost restart again. That's when the Fenway group comes in. And so Liverpool are been part of this group, and you've got Chelsea. But what I was saying was the changing of the guard. You've got Ferguson has left. Wenger's left last year. Ferguson has left Man United, and they've been poor since 2000 for 6 years now. Wenger's left. He was getting poor towards the end there also. So that single father finger patriarch is now gone, who had all the institutional knowledge, and now these teams are scrambling to modernize. The other seismic event is City coming in with the UAE money and Sheikh Mansour, and they bring modern business structure to City. Khaldoon, who's the VP of the City Football Group, owns 4 or 5 teams, is a Tufts University-educated, American-sounding Arab guy who's spent his time with U.S. businesses and running oil companies. So he put in that really hardcore management structure. So City has just got the best in class of everything. We have the Barcelona president. We have a business president. We have the Barcelona technical manager, Chiki Beristan. And there's a structure of why City wins. It's not by accident that we spent $5 billion and we started winning. It's a plan. It's thought out. It's not willy-nilly. It's not a joke. So they're running City as an entertainment property like it's a Fortune 500 company. And the Premier League has had to catch up with that because it's been relatively mom and pop throughout its history. So, getting to Liverpool. Liverpool now have that nous and group in. So you've got Liverpool and City on the ascendancy. You've got Chelsea somewhere in the middle with Abramovich, who's kind of in trouble, disappeared to Israel. At any moment, Putin might murder him. His assets are seized in England. He's got a transfer ban on Chelsea. So Chelsea are a little in flux. Arsenal are in flux with Unai Emery, but they've had a good season, a little bit. But who knows what's going to happen in terms of like club structure, of how they do things. And then Man United are a fucking shit show. I mean, if you just look at they hired Solskjaer, they have an individual business contract guy running the company in Woodward. They don't have a modern football structure. They need real business people, real football entertainment people being in charge of their team. So City are far and away kicking ass in terms of back. Like if you took off the field out of it and you just looked at how the teams are run on the field, off the field, it would be City, Liverpool, then Arsenal, then Chelsea, then United in terms of how the teams are run. Anyway, that's a big rant on how we got to Liverpool and where we are now. Pretty exciting. But the season ended and it feels great, and I'm glad my team won. It's a little anticlimactic, but great all in all. Other things on the agenda. There are 2 off-the-field issues going on. Chelsea, one, has a transfer ban upheld, so they got in trouble for signing players too young. Let's see if I can grab if there's any coffee in here. It's too late to be drinking coffee, but shit. needed a drink of water. I don't have any. Chelsea have a transfer ban, and they're going to lose Hazard, so they're a little bit in trouble for signing players too young. It's under 16 years old. And so they'll miss 2 transfer windows. Manchester City are allegedly under investigation and going to receive a suggested Champions League ban for cooking their books on the financial fair play side, restrictive soft salary cap imposed by UEFA that is stupid. Anyway, that's a different story. Anyway, City have been in trouble for that a couple times. City and PSG being the main ones because they're owned by Arab wealth funds or Middle Eastern wealth funds, and Europeans don't like to be told what to do, especially by Middle Eastern brown people. So that's my take. But City have to deal with that. I have a feeling it'll be fine. City have the FA Cup. And then, big for me, and I'm super fucking excited for it, and you should be too, is the Women's World Cup in France. Super awesome. Like, the level of women's soccer is really fucking high, and if you don't watch the Women's World Cup, you shouldn't call yourself a football fan. I'm being completely frank. There's great teams. Really good football. Like, England is really good. The Dutch are really good. France is really good. The Chinese are really good. The Japanese are really good. The Germans are always good. The U.S. is really good. I mean, we're going now 7 teams deep. Didn't used to be that way. Norway's good. Sweden's good. Basically, any countries that have female equity are really good, which is great. This is great. Like, if you have a country that has female equity, you end up with great female athletes. Shocking. Anyway, I'm super fucking pumped for it. I will be rooting for France, as I always do. Such a multinational team. It's great to see France. It mirrors what their men's teams look like. I hate how the U.S. team is so white. It's kind of annoying. Like, who plays soccer? It's really indicative of who plays soccer in the U.S. and now you need money to play. So that I'm interested in. And the English team I'm interested in because City have a great women's team, and their YouTube channel covers the women's team in equal time with the men's. So I got to know a few of them by watching. Anything else? This has been now 42 videos for this season, season 2. Over 50 videos for season 1, so that's 92 videos in a year, plus 21 podcasts. If you didn't listen to my previous podcast, episode 22, I really recommend it. I'm proud of it. I think I did a decent job of trying to explain the feelings I was having about football and how those 2 Champions League games really changed everything. They're like fucking incredible. So there's that. And we'll have one more FA Cup review to finish out the season. And you get the back of my head. That is crap football. I am a crap pundit. That is the season. Goodbye.